To our next story. You know, when the dreaded Boko Haram insurgency came upon us in 2009, a bewildered country held its breath. The armed forces reacted and beat it back reasonably. Today, Governor Babagana Zulum fears the merchants of death are making a comeback in Borno State and the Northeast generally. The Professor Governor was addressing a special expanded security meeting attended by the General Officer, GOC, commanding 7th Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Abubakar Haruna, and other military top brass and traditional rulers. While he praised President Tinubu's interventions, he lamented the resurgence of Boko Haram attacks, saying Borno State was losing ground and guard to the terrorists. He has urged greater resilience to the menace. We'll share Governor Zulum's position on the matter with you. Let's go there briefly.
Our discussions during the Security Council was not bad. We just raised an alarm that there is a resurgence of Boko Haram activities in Borno State, and there is a need for Borno State government, the military as well as paramilitary, to work together in order to abate the looming situation. I think this is a very good advice. Nothing has been said again. But most importantly, I want to assure you that we have been to Abuja. We met the service chief, especially the CDS, Chief of Army Staff, Naval Staff, as well as Air Staff. We received assurances from them that they will do everything possible to control the situation. And we are so happy with the response that we had from the service chiefs. And the government of Borno State will continue to partner with the Nigerian military, will continue to partner with the federal government of Nigeria with a view to reducing the menace of the insurgency.
So, Mayor, now you can see we're still in the woods. We are not out of the woods yet.
And it's so sad because Governor Zulum is one of my favorite governors.
Oh, yeah.
He has done exceedingly well given the circumstances and the challenges that he faced in Borno State. Despite that, he has been able to give dividends of democracy to his people. And Boko Haram and the sister organization, ISWAP, have been a major body within that axis, of the country. And at the time, we felt we were out of the woods, that what was just needed was just mopping up, because we didn't hear the kind of engagements that we used to hear, how they used to attack army barracks and run them over, how they used to detonate bombs and kidnap people and all that. For some time, we didn't hear that. But I think our security forces, they've dropped the ball. They've allowed Boko Haram to stage a comeback. And like the governor said, he said he has met with them, and they have given assurances that they will tackle the situation. I hope they will be able to do that, because the relative peace that we had, that, you know, at the time people were able to go to farms, they were able to have good yields and bumper harvest, and life was getting back to normal. So we cannot afford to go back to those days where things were really, really bad. Yeah. So I want to hold the service chiefs and the Nigerian military to double their efforts and try to say, I know that it's tough. I know that it's tough because it's not a conventional war.
Give kudos to the armed forces.
Yeah, we commend them for their sacrifices and what they've been able to achieve. But we want to appeal to them that they have to double their efforts, because it won't make any sense for us to allow these people to come back and then erode all the gains that we've had over the years. So, because the way terrorism is, I know that it's usually frustrating because it's not a conventional war. So sometimes you overpower them, they will retreat, then lie low for some time, and then regroup and come back. So we should be ready for them. We should be able to know that normally when you are engaging terrorists, when things are difficult, they will retreat and go and wait for some time, and then reorganize and come back. And then this is the comeback period. We should also be waiting for them and to be able to double our efforts to see that we don't go back to the old ways of doing things.
Wale, you recall that in the immediate aftermath of the what do you call it, the strike on America,
Yeah.
9/11, the Patriot Act came into force.
Yeah.
But it took 10 long years before the old enemy, you know, was felled.
Yeah, yeah.
So when it started in my country, I didn't think it was a dash.
Yeah.
So because fighting terrorism is a marathon, if you ask
Yeah,
me.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
long-term game. It's a long-term battle. It's not something you can resolve in just, you know, you want swift attack on terrorism. More so that in Nigeria we have varieties of terrorist organizations, each with different agenda. We are talking about Boko Haram. We are talking of Ansaru. We are talking about ISWAP, which broke up from
And
Boko
now
Haram.
Lakurawa.
And also Lakurawa. Then also there are also
And
fringe
sprinklings
elements.
of banditry.
Yes, fringe elements who are organized into small bandit cells who are operating all over the country. So all this combined, and with the issue with different motives. So all this combined is not going to be an easy thing for us. But then it's not an excuse for us that as a country, we will not be able to defeat ragtag army that are not conventional, that employs both urban and rural guerrilla warfare. So I think if you see what is going on in Borno State, it's not as if the army is not making progress. In fact, there's a very notorious terrorist. It's called Gwanska that was killed not too long ago. And if you look at in the past years where we had terrorist organizations, terrorist leaders that they were even playing host to politicians. You know, some few years ago, hosting people being given red carpet right in their forest. We are not in that kind of station now. They have been decimated. You know, years ago, maybe 3 years ago, we had somebody like Bello Toji boasting on video, even showing videos of where he was operating and all that. Today, he's hiding. He can't come out openly like he used to be. So I think we are making progress. However, it's a very complex, battle, especially when it appears there are political motives behind a fringe of some of these elements who appear to enjoy support from political actors. So when you find yourself in a situation where people are using terrorism as negotiating chip, as a kind of electoral weapon, to say, okay, look, we can destabilize the country. It becomes very complex to deal with that kind of. And you have a situation where an aspect of the security agents have also been compromised by this political actor. So it's something that you have to be very careful in performing the surgical operation. It's not something you can just go on all out begin to bomb communities and all that. So that means that you have to be driven more by intelligence, getting the people that are the sponsors of this terrorism, and also isolating the main actors attacking them.
Governor Zulum's call is a wake-up one.
It's a wake-up one, but I also think that what is important that we should not forget is that at the time we used to have joint, multinational force.
Yeah.
But with the semi-diplomatic role between Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, that has been a little bit, the role of that multinational force has been diminished. So I think we can bring back the multinational force between Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and Mali so that we can share intelligence together, we can work together, we can patrol the borders of Nigeria, and all these countries together. That is not happening now. And that may affect, our effectiveness in dealing with terrorism.
Okay. BKO, we have no choice. We want to fall back on you again. So how do you intervene now? Are you there?
Yes, I'm actually in Maiduguri as you speak.
Okay.
And moved around the city. I've visited some of the military formations. I've visited hospitals. So I can speak like someone on ground. Shortly after we visited the site along the Amboa Road, there was that explosion that killed 8 persons and left so many others injured. In fact, I was with the Commissioner for Health, investigating the steps that have been taken to restore some of the hospitals that were submerged by the September 2024 floods. And shortly after the commissioner left me, this incident happened.
Wow.
Everyone who moves around now is scared, especially in crowded areas, markets and motor parks, because the feeling now is that these boys are back to doing what they used to do. And in the last few months, they have attacked a number of military bases. We used to say that they have lost the capacity to attack army bases, but they carried out a night attack on the army base in Sabongeri, Damboa, fought with our troops from 11 p.m. to about 5 a.m. And in the end, we lost a number of soldiers and I think an officer. Other military bases have been attacked in the last few weeks. The day I arrived in Maiduguri, they attacked Dalori. Dalori is just after the University of Maiduguri. That's on the way to Konduga, which is one of the biggest local governments in the state. Konduga was where the Nigerian Air Force plane was shot down a couple of years ago. And it took a while to even locate the carcass of the airplane. We lost airmen in that attack because of the sheer size of that local government. These are local governments bigger than some states. You know, so it is true that we are facing the kind of threats that we had not faced in years. And Governor Zulum is one of the people always happy to report that progress is being made in his state. He is so eager to relocate people to places where Boko Haram used to be in control, but civil authority had been restored so that the people will leave the IDP camps and live their own lives. Borno people are not lazy. They are very good in agriculture. Borno alone can actually produce enough rice for our country. It can produce enough fish for our country. But many of them are forced to live in IDP camps because of the constant threat from Boko Haram. So the governor has had to relocate people, build housing, build houses for people in communities that have been liberated so that the people can live normal lives and fend for themselves. Because keeping people in IDP camp is not sustainable. For how long are you going to do that? So the earlier the terrorists are defeated so that people can return to their homes, the better. Now, the boys have always fought back. And I've said repeatedly that we cannot rest on our laurels. Let's stop saying we have defeated the enemy, because the enemy is a difficult one. The enemy has found a way to cash in on poverty in these areas to recruit people into their fold, to conscript people into their fold. They offer people soft loans. Those who cannot pay back, they are made to join the Boko Haram fighters by force.
Okay.
And they still operate in many parts of the state, many parts of Yobe state, some parts of Adamawa state. At the height of his powers, Boko Haram controlled 2 local governments in Yobe. They controlled 7 local governments in Adamawa. They controlled more than 17 local governments in Borno.
Okay.
Now what they are doing to the army now is they have acquired drones fitted with weapons. This is the first time they are using this kind of weapon against our troops.
Really?
Drones that have been calibrated and fitted with weapons are now being used against our troops. Secondly, they are using vehicle-borne IEDs against our troops. In fact, one of the military bases that was attacked, it was a vehicle-borne IED that was detonated. What can troops do in such a situation? Nothing, because you weren't expecting it, and the IEDs will eventually kill so many people. Now, the Maiduguri-Damboa road is just around 90 to 95 kilometers. But the road has remained unsafe since around 2013, 2014. The army has not been able to secure that road. What they do is, if people need to move to those places, the army will now, those traders, they will accompany them to drive along that corridor. The place, because the place is unsafe, for now, the road is even closed. Now, to get around that, people have to travel through even Gombe State, a journey of just about an hour. Our people now have to travel for, in some cases, up to 7 hours.
Hey.
Because if you try to drive on that road, the enemy will easily take you out. I traveled to Buniyadi. Buniyadi was the town where more than 40 students were slaughtered in their sleep in 2014. I traveled to that school without military escort. That's in Yobe State. Today, if anybody tries it, his life will be in danger. It was in 2023 that I traveled to that place to do a documentary. Today, that road leading all the way to Biu, you dare not, once you get past Bunigeri, the hometown of the governor of Yobe State, nowhere is safe. Nowhere is safe. The road is bad. The boys stay on the road waiting to kidnap people. And usually when they kidnap people, they kill them. So the attacks on army bases, army bases are now frequent. If they can get to Dalori here a few days back after I arrived here, it means they are even getting closer to the city.
The capital.
So I'm not surprised that the governor of Borno State was worried and he had to come out to say, what do we do? In the past, he would simply have kept quiet because he would think that, okay, these threats, we can handle these threats. But things are getting out of hand. And there's no point for anybody to attack the governor and imagine that, oh, what he's saying makes no sense. Before he can come out, so many attacks that had not been reported, especially attacks on the army that had not been reported, had happened. So they need to come together, and the soldiers, what soldiers are telling me here is that they need more personnel, that they should send more personnel to this place so that any area that they capture from the boys, they can put troops on ground.
Yes, they can hold the ground.
So they are saying that they don't have enough troops. And what has led to that is also the attention that we are giving the Northwest.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the Northwest is a major food production belt in our country, and bandits are giving people hell in the Northwest. So some of the troops that used to be here have been moved to that place, especially after we started having some level of stability. Now, they are calling on the Chief of Army Staff to release more troops to this area so that once they capture an area, they can keep troops there.
Yeah, yeah.
If we are able to do that, things will definitely improve. But the truth is, There's an escalation in terms of attacks on communities. There's an escalation in terms of attacks on our troops, and people are becoming worried again. And they are strengthening themselves even in areas that they've controlled over the years.
Okay.
Yes, so this is the thing. Malam Fatori, we have troops on Malam Fatori, but the situation is so so terrible that troops have not allowed citizens to come and settle in Malam Fatori because they know that they will start killing our people.
Thank you very much.
So this is the situation.
Thank you very kindly, BKO. Thank you very kindly. Gentlemen, so as they say, all hands on deck.
Yes, there is need for more troops to be sent there.
Yeah.
Because when you defeat an enemy in warfare, when you defeat an enemy, that's not enough. You must be able to hold that ground.
Yeah.
If you don't hold that ground, if you vacate it, and they will come back and occupy the place again.
Yeah.
So there is need for them to have more troops so that we can defeat and occupy.
And we are talking about merchants of death.
Yeah.
Boko Haram. Okay, the debate will continue.